Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. So I have a super fun yarn haul for you guys today. One of my subscribers reached out to me and said she didn't think that I was giving superwash yarn enough of a chance. So she very generously gifted to me 20 skeins of her favorite superwash yarn, and that is the Malabrigo Rios. So I had a lot of fun looking through their website and picking out what colors I wanted. They have a lot of different options when it came to the yarn styles. So they had like tonal, solids, some like watercolory ones, and some speckled ones. So I tried to get a variety of different things. I did some back of the napkin math and determined that I needed about 5 skeins, I guess, or hanks, to make a sweater because I don't have any pattern particularly in mind, but this is a worsted weight yarn, so I have an idea that that should be enough for me. So without further ado, I am going to stop talking and get some yarn up on my table here and show you the very pretty lovelies that were gifted to me. So first up, the colorway I have is Cucumber. This is Cucumber 708, and this is one that I think is more on the tonal side. So it has this really nice, bright, sort of blue leaning green, but you do get sort of areas where there's more blue or more yellow. I think it'll make a really interesting sweater. So right now I'm working on a Piper sweater, but I'm on the last sleeve. So this is going to be the next one that I work on. I'm really excited just because I think, well, I absolutely adore this color. It's one of my favorite colors to wear, and I think it's perfect for the spring/summertime. Especially in Colorado, we get some cool nights sometimes, so it's nice to have a colorful, like light springy, colorful sweater that still provides you some warmth, if that makes sense. When I was looking at the site, they had said that the dye lots were like in 10 hanks per dye lot, but that there would be some variation because these are all hand dyed. Particularly in this colorway, I don't see a huge difference in these hanks. I am tempted to not alternate skeins when I'm knitting this up, but let me know down in the comments if you think that's a mistake. The next one I have is Hohas, I think, 880 Hohas, and this one I absolutely adore. It is really lovely greens, teals, and blues in this sort of like watercolor. So versus Cucumber, where it felt like it was in general one sort of color with different like depths of saturation, this one is different colors. So for these yarns, I definitely will try that helical knitting or alternating hanks in sort of like a spiral up the sweater, because I do think on this one I'm more likely to see color pooling just because in the yarn itself, I can see sections where like, yeah, here's like a much lighter blue that those might start pooling together, or this green might start pooling together. So I will definitely have to work harder on this one to make sure I get that more like variegated look that I prefer, but really excited to use this yarn. So this one I probably won't knit up until much later in the year or next year. I feel like I need to get a little bit better at knitting before I want to tackle something like that, which is a little bit more challenging. And also just the darker colors. I'm not as enthusiastic about knitting up a dark sweater in this time of year, but absolutely gorgeous yarn, and that is Hohas. So for this sweater, this is the only one that I actually have a pattern in mind for, and I can't remember the pattern name, so I will link, I'll put a picture of it over here, and I'll put the name down at the bottom of the screen. This is another Jennifer Steingass pattern. I really, really love her patterns. So for this one, I got 4 hanks of the color Ivory, and this one, I thought these were going to be solids, but in looking at them, they look more tonal than solid. I definitely see like on this one here, I see some like darker sections versus some lighter sections. Here's a lighter section right here. I think it'll be nice. I think it's subtle enough that it's not going to take away from the color work that I want to do on this sweater, but I think it'll give a nice texture to the main body of the sweater. And then the color that I'm going to do the color work for in this one is Vulcan 227. So this is really pretty. It just reminds me of fall and turning leaves. It has some really gorgeous fiery oranges, like a saffron-y color, some browns, stuff like that. It really just looks like turning leaves to me. So I'm excited for this. I do think that this is, even though this one has lots of fun colors, just like Hoha, it's comprised, I would call this one more of like a watercolor effect. I do think that they are all the same hue or depth of saturation. So I don't hope, crossing my fingers, that it doesn't distract from the colorwork design too much, but you'll just get some like subtle shade changes in the colorwork. So really, really excited about this one. Obviously, this is going to be a sweater that I probably will tackle in the fall. I'm thinking maybe September or October time. I think I really want to have this sweater in time to wear it for the fall months or maybe even Thanksgiving. So that's when I'm going to shoot or aim to knit this one up. But I think it should be really, really lovely and very autumnal to have Ivory. I don't know. Did I tell you this was Ivory? And this one is Vulcan. And then last but not least is the colorway Siri, S-I-R-I, and that color number is 277. So this one is one of the more speckly ones. So from what I've read, the speckles aren't as prone to water color pooling as something like this, where you have like large swatches of color. This one, I don't think I'll have that problem. Looking at it, it's a gray base with some sort of like brown and orange and yellow speckles on there. I think that the gray base is a little bit different from hank to hank. Some of them are more blue leaning and some of them are more of like have a more yellow leaning gray base. So I think I'm still going to alternate skeins on this. Hanks, I'm sorry, I need to remember to say hanks, not skeins. So I am going to alternate just because I don't want to have like a huge block of a sweater where it's like more blue leaning gray and then you can see like that harsh line into the different background gray. If that makes sense. So this one sort of reminds me, I guess, again of Falling Leaves, but there was this Chinese restaurant in the town that I grew up in that we used to go to all the time called Szechuan House. And they had this large mural on the wall of koi fish. And that's what this reminds me of, these like yellows and oranges and browns in here. And so that is, I'm probably going to call it the koi fish sweater. I'm thinking for this one, I don't know. I don't really have much plans because the yarn is the star of the show with these. I'm probably going to knit up some very basic, like just like straight raglan sweaters and like a stockinette stitch because I don't want to detract from the beauty of the yarn. I think for the cucumber one, for this guy, I might have the ability to do get a little bit more interesting with texture stitches. I don't know. I have to think about it. But for yarn like this, where the yarn itself is kind of busy, I just want to do a basic raglan or circular yoke style without a whole lot of bells and whistles on it. So obviously I haven't knit with these yet, so I can't really make any statements in terms of how I like working with it. But just feeling them and looking at them, they feel incredibly soft. I think I should have no problem as I rub this against my cheek. I should have no problem making these a next to skin sweater. I think they'll be really pleasant to wear. And I'm thinking I'll probably machine wash these and then lay them flat to dry. I know that when I was using superwash yarn before, I was using the Drops Extra Fine Merino. It was really, really stretchy. So like if I pulled some of the yarn, it almost had like a 50% stretch or something like that. And I think that's one of the reasons why when I got it wet, it just stretched out so much. I had blocked. All right, I did a gauge swatch and blocked it, but once it had the entire weight of the sweater on it, it really stretched out a lot more than my gauge swatch had. And so it got a lot bigger. So, but these yarns, I guess the long story I'm trying to get to is that these yarns do not seem to have that same amount of like elasticity and stretch. So I'm hoping that that won't be the problem with this, because it would be really nice to have some sweaters that are a lot lower maintenance to take care of. Like I said before, I don't mind hand washing my sweaters, but obviously we have busy lives, and it's easier if I can wash them in the machine. So, it's a little bit twofold. Part of me is hoping that they work out great and then I can become a Malabrigo girl and use this yarn all of the time. And then the other half of me is hoping that it doesn't work out so well, because it doesn't bode well for my wallet if I really, really like these yarns, because these are quite a bit more expensive than the ones that I had been using. Very, very, very appreciative of that subscriber who asked to remain anonymous, because yes, definitely her generosity has allowed me the ability to try out this new yarn, which I'm very, very excited for. So I hope you guys liked the yarn, and I will see everybody next time. Take care.